For quite a few years now, I put forth a warning to pro-black men. I'm not talking about the phony, fake-ass, wannabe pro-blacks talking black during the day and sleeping white at night. I'm talking about actual pro-blacks. Essentially warning them to be very, very cautious of these pro-black women. I'm talking about the same groups of women who talk about how they want to see a black community built, how they're all about black love, how they want to build a black nation. I have warned many of you brothers for quite some years now to be very cautious of these women. Gauge them not off of what they talk about, but gauge them off of their actions, and most importantly, look at the resume. Because many of these women who claim to be about pro-blackness, about black love, building a black nation, black excellence, are some of the same groups of women who have not dated white men, been into interracial relationships with white men, with a main preference preferably for white men, who have slept with white men, in certain cases in marriages with white men, or even have biracial children with white men. I have warned you brothers about this for quite some years, and I'll be damned if something didn't come down the pipeline that I can use to reference what I've been telling many of you brothers for quite some years. Now, I caught wind of a live stream last week. I just didn't get around to making a video talking about it. And this is a live stream produced by the girl who swirls. Now, this video is not about her, okay? But what I will do is reference the talking points of who she was talking about. And she mentioned how a black female who made videos railing against her message for quite a few years now, out of nowhere, just recently, somehow decided to pick up the phone and call this woman to apologize. Yeah, you heard me right the first time. We're not talking about sending an email. We're not talking about sending a personal message or contacting her on Facebook or some other means of social media. No. Somehow, this female managed to get the girl who swirls number to contact her. Now, the girl who swirls made, I believe it was 2 live streams pertaining to this situation. And one of them, the first one, I had to actually go over it another time just to furthermore figure out who the hell she was talking about, because I didn't know when she first brought this up. Even after playing the audio, I had to play the audio back one more time just to recognize the voice. Now, Crystal Carriers had mentioned how she's not going to mention any names out of respect for this female. But me, on the other hand, I don't have respect for somebody who will flip and switch up like a goddamn fish out of water. And now here's the deal. When it comes down to your girl who swirls, I don't like her. I don't respect her. But to this much of an extent. And that is, we know good and damn well where she stands. Her position has been well documented for the past 10 years on YouTube. So it is no secret on where she stands, where her allegiance lies. Most certainly there's nothing else to furthermore second guess. So on that end, I got to show her just a little bit of respect. But in many cases, many of you phony ass pro-black females who talk this bullshit about pro-blackness, who will decide to, out of nowhere, I mean, first of all, you got the question, how the hell did you get this woman's number in the first place? Secondly, why the hell would you feel the need to call her? I mean, let me just go ahead and say this much. I can see how anybody will become turned off to pro-blackness. Or better yet, let me say this much. I can see how somebody will be turned off to the actions of pro-blacks. Many which are phony, many which are fake, many which you Negroes are not serious, nor do you take action to what you claim you stand for. So I can understand how somebody who would want to see this actually happen can say, you know what, I'm just going to wash my hands of the entire thing. But what we're trying to figure out is when you have a female who has a message, which, I mean, first of all, the first thing we have to understand about a crystalline charism compared to a pro-black, these are two polar opposites. The two messages diametrically oppose one another. This is no secret. We know this. And if the two have messages which diametrically oppose one another, then there's no way in hell that you would expect to see the two aligning. And most certainly the pro-black trying to align with a fucking swirler. I mean, right then and there, it makes absolutely no goddamn sense. Now, Crystalline Charism might say, well, I'm not going to mention your name, but I say this much. She didn't have to mention your name. But she did mention enough about you, and not only do I know who you are, but what she also mentioned, furthermore, just once again elaborates on what I stated in the beginning of this video and the message that I've been trying to warn black men about for many years now. Now, for those of you who don't know who she is, this is a female who goes by the name of Ali Emmett. Okay? And like I said, I had to listen to the audio of the video clip 2 times to figure out who exactly this was. And then it all started to dawn on me. When a title was mentioned about, Black Women 2019, do what you want to, I said, okay, I know good and damn well who the hell she's talking about. Now, for those of y'all who might have caught wind of this female, this is a phony ass, fictitious pro-black. From what I understand, who has either set their channel to private or has deleted their YouTube account altogether. Now, once again, I can understand how anybody will become turned off to pro-blacks and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm not dealing with them. But when you find two opposing extremes, and that's what Crystalline Charism is compared to a pro-black, these are two diametrically opposing extremes. No matter what way you try to mesh them, they don't match. If these two were to go together in any sequence or any way, shape, or form, the only way this can possibly happen is if either, number one, Crystalline Charism is a hypocrite in what she claims she supports, which we know she's not. Say what you want to say about her. You don't have to like her, but at the end of the goddamn day, we know exactly where she stands. Or option number 2, the pro-black, like I've been trying to tell many of you brothers, is the very same one who initially was a swirler, who initially supported going out here dating white men. There's no way in hell I can sit back and say anything else. And this is the conclusion that I had to come to, because now, once again, Crystalline Charism did not reach out to this female. This was the other way around. And what this also shows is a lack of integrity. And when you ask the black woman, well, listen, black woman, why would you find yourself making a decision like this? And she'll come up with every excuse under the sun as of why she will now align herself with swirlers. Oh, you black men ain't building nothing. You black men ain't this. This is what they're going to tell you. You black men fail to do what other races of men are doing for their community and their women. This is what the black woman will tell you. These are the excuses that she'll use. And once again, I've told black men this as well, that the more you Negroes find yourselves arguing with them on live stream, going back and forth with them, engaging them, they will turn around and use this dysfunction against you. I've tried to warn y'all about this. And I'll be damned if it hasn't come to fruition. But these are the talking points that they will use. But we also understand that the black woman is the one rearing these households with not only young black girls, but also young black boys, rearing them into manhood. Okay? And when you deal with a woman who will take one position, I mean, like I said, this is a woman who's made numerous videos going against Crystalline Carrison's message over the past couple of years. Now, how did I catch wind to her? Because I believe she was a subscriber of mine. And if I'm not mistaken, I was a subscriber of hers. No way to find out now, because you can't even find the channel. And like I said, I have personally sat back and witnessed these videos of her going against this swirling message. A swirler herself who's against swirling. I mean, are you serious? But once again, like I said, if you sit back and you look at the resume, this is what you are going to find when it comes down to these wannabe pro-black females. Now, it's one thing to say this much. I mean, let me just say this before I go any further. When you find a female who can all of a sudden do a complete 180 like that, or anybody who can do a complete 180 like that, this is somebody you need to stay away from. This is someone who can't be trusted. This is somebody who has no integrity. This is somebody who has no structure. And this is also another reason why you see black men the way they are. So now, once again, black woman, when you sit around and you talk about, well, you black men ain't doing this, and you black men ain't builders, and you ain't protecting us. Well, first of all, if they're being reared by you, and we see that this is what you are engaging in, this is what you're teaching them, that you will try to connect two completely polar opposites, that you will go from one opposing extreme to another within a matter of weeks. I mean, when we see this level of inconsistency right here, that you will switch up like a goddamn fish out of water, you can't expect that much more to be done with your black boys. Because if this is who you are, then ultimately this is what you are going to pass down to your children. And we'll elaborate a little bit more on this in the video. So when black women sit up here and they say you black men ain't building, you black men ain't doing nothing, and this is the reason why we don't respect you. And like I said, well, how is it one minute you go from hating the white man to the next minute you're the same one with billboard signs cheerleading for this white man? I mean, this is what they do. This is what it is. Damn near every last one of these swirlers are going to tell you how at one point or another she went from all about pro-blackness and black love and hating the white man to all of a sudden, fuck the black man, let me go ahead and get me the white man. This is what it is with them. And I've told you, brothers, I've warned y'all time and time again, you cannot trust these pro-blacks, because in a matter of months, they will switch bait on you. I mean, what was it? This is what was it that took place about 3 months ago? You had the SOS movement that was created by Simone 5'6", Crystalline Carrison, and Sophia A. Nelson. Crystalline Carrison and Simone 5'6" decided to shut down that organization, an organization which they were doing absolutely nothing for. We know what this organization initially stood for. It was an anti-defamation league to help and protect black women and girls. Funny thing is that organization has been up for damn near 3 years? And you mean to tell me you've gotten nothing done within 3 years? Because this is how much they really cared about black women and girls. Now, I made my video calling this out. I made my one video and I was pretty much done with it. Miss Ali Emmett made multiple videos calling this out. And I'm going to say, listen, those videos were spot on. I couldn't disagree with what she was saying in those videos. Because like I said, once again, it's accurate. And it's not a matter of where my position lies. It's a matter of knowing what really makes sense and calling something straight down the middle. So what I'm trying to figure out is, how was it just a little bit less than 3 months ago you were making videos calling out this hypocrisy, now to the point where you are now contacting over via personal phone calls to contact the girl who swirls to talk about you apologize to her and she was right all along. I mean, this right here shows that you have no integrity. This right here shows that you have no consistency. This right here shows that you have no structure. You have no foundation. And that you can split like a goddamn fish out of water. And let me give you an example, for instance. I've told this to black men back in my earlier YouTube days. And I can't even believe it's been that long now. But I've been on YouTube for damn near 10 years now. So I'm not new to YouTube. I don't post videos as often as I used to. But anybody who's been watching my channel since day one knows I've been here. I've been around for quite some damn time now. I'm a veteran to this shit. But back in 2013, 2014, hell, even throughout 2015 and early 2016, I remember there pretty much wasn't a week that went by where some Negro was not putting up a goofy ass response video to me. And when I would sit down and listen to these response videos, what I noticed that is they weren't engaging my message. They weren't poking holes in my arguments or showing me where I was wrong in my arguments. Instead, what they were doing, and this is typically what you're going to find out of black men when they can't engage you, they're going to go back or revert right to what they know, which is their comfort zone, cracking jokes, talking about sex. I mean, this is just what you're going to find when it comes down to black men. So what many of them were saying was, well, you know what? Look at you. You 5'2". You 4' nothing. How come he doesn't show his entire physique? And one of the pictures that you might actually see in this video that I'm playing, the still images that you see, is a recent full body picture of me standing up. So for those of y'all who are under the impression that I'm 4' nothing, I mean, this is another reason why I never even addressed that stupid shit, because it was just one of the dumbest fucking things that I've ever heard. But yet, this is what I had black men come, and I'm talking about older black men, not younger, older black men. Black men engaging in cracking all kinds of silly ass jokes. And when I would address this, I would reply back and say, man, listen, the reason why you Negroes do the shit you do, and I can tell this just by listening to you based off of your positions, your foundation, is that you have no structure. You have no consistency. Your argument is easily taken apart and ripped to shreds because you have no integrity. And I also came back and told these Negroes, man, listen, the reason why this is because you were reared by single mothers. And this is what was modeled in front of you as a damn child. What am I saying? Once again, when you have a woman who can take a position that is an opposing extreme, and I'm talking about the side of pro-blackness, yet, and we're talking about running with this position for a number of years now, going against certain YouTubers for a number of years now, to now recently decide to switch bait, bam, just like that, like a fish out of water, to find herself calling a pro-swirler the ringleader of swirling itself, to not only apologize, but to say, hey, you know what, you were right. That right there lets me know that you have no structure. You have no foundation. And this is what y'all have been passing off to your black boys for quite some time. So when black women are sitting here wondering why don't you black men build for us? Well, I'm sorry. I told y'all years ago that in many cases you are crippling these boys before they even get a fair shot. I mean, if you take a seed and you plant it in the ground and you nourish it with proper water, you give it plant food, guess what? It's going to grow up and develop into a beautiful tree. You now got an apple tree. You can go pick apples and have yourself something to eat, something to take with you to work. Or if you ain't got nothing to eat at home, hey, let me go have a couple of apples. Wash these bad boys up. I got me some apples. You see, that's what you actually call putting into an investment. I'm going to invest in this seed. I'm going to plant this seed. I'm going to take care of this seed And when it develops, I'm going to get something out of it in return. In many cases, black women aren't doing this. Instead, what you're doing is you're planting a seed, you're not nourishing it properly, you're giving it all kinds of junk and filth and garbage. And when it finally starts to sprout out of the ground, guess what? You don't got a tree, you got a bunch of weeds. This is what you got. Then you want to sit around and complain, well, how come we ain't getting nothing out of it? Because this is what you passed down. It's that fucking simple. You want a healthy tree with apples, you got to plant it and give it, you have to nourish it with plant nutrients, proper water, and sunlight. This is what you need. If you give it garbage, guess what? You're going to get garbage. If you're watering it with diesel fuel and all sorts of chemicals, guess what? You ain't going to, even if you do get a tree, don't eat the apples off the fucking tree. Don't do it. Because you're going to fuck yourself up. And this is exactly what it is when it comes down to black women. Many of you, not all. But when you see somebody being reared like this, and when you see a woman that can easily switch up like this, guess what? You are going to pass that down off to your sons. Now, it's one thing to say, hey, I don't deal with pro-blacks anymore. They're just too over the top for me. So I'm going to find a different route. That would be understandable. And I'll give you an example. In those earlier days, back on YouTube, when I used to post more consistent videos, we knew that I endorsed Tommy Sotomayor at one point, as well as he endorsed me. I've made videos defending him time and time again throughout 2012, 2013, 2014, all the way up into 2015. We've even, back in 2014, linked up and did a multiple video series collaboration. This is what we did. 2015 is when we had our fallout. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how it happened and why it happened. I posted the videos up years ago. I took them down. They've served their purpose. I'm not getting into that again. Now, it's funny that I also mentioned my detractors back at that time and how they would always make these videos going and cracking jokes on me. This is what they did. What I've noticed is once I had my fallout with him, that I had some of these same Negroes coming to me saying, hey man, do you want to come on my live stream? Do you want to come on my blog talk radio so we could talk about this? And I told them, no, I'm not doing that. But hey man, I would really appreciate it if you would do this. No, I'm not doing it. Because unlike the woman in question that I'm talking about right now, I'm a man with integrity. And the one thing I understand is the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. So just because I no longer fuck with him doesn't mean that I'm about to turn around and start fucking with you. It don't work like that. I don't like him, nor do I like you. So this is how this is going to go down. You're not going to see me co-signing you. You're not going to see me backing you. I'm not going to get on radio shows and call you and say, hey man, you know you was right on this time. Man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. There's been too much damage done. Too much shit is on this goddamn plate. The bridges have been burnt a long time ago. There's essentially nothing that can be done with this. Nothing can be salvaged. Too much damage has been done. And I don't fuck with people like that. But once again, that's a matter of actually having some type of integrity. So when you see a female who can sit here and rail against the likes of a pro swirler for a number of years now, we're talking about close to 5 years now, to now deciding to turn around and call her over the phone and say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, and by the way, you're right. What I'm trying to figure out, what was you trying to do? Was you trying to gain a friend in this pro swirler? Did you think the two of you were going to become buddies? And will furthermore let you know that this individual has no integrity is the fact that, listen, that this is where you stand now. Keep your channel up. Come forth and make a video and say, hey man, this is what it is with me. This is what I support. But once again, the reason why they do this, the reason why they hide their channels, the reason why they engage in these cowardly behaviors is because they know at the end of the damn day, they want to be able to straddle both sides of the goddamn fence, which is another reason why I tell you black men, y'all need to be extremely careful. This is also another reason why I rode some of your asses over the years now. Because I've seen a lot of these females around y'all, and y'all ain't calling this shit out. Y'all are sitting back, letting this go on, and many of y'all don't even notice this. But I'm sorry, I always got an eye watching, and I'm telling you, brothers, man, listen. Don't go off of what they say. Don't go off of what they tell you. You can go off of their actions to a degree. To a degree. But you really need to check that goddamn resume. Because here's also something else that was revealed in this live stream from your girl who swirls. And she didn't have to go ahead and mention any damn names, but she put forth enough information where this really doesn't make you look good at all. Because this is also information that this female, Ali Emmett, revealed to the girl who swore. And you got to wonder how stupid these motherfuckers really are. Y'all some stupid motherfuckers. I mean, seriously. To reveal sensitive information like that to the girl. I mean, first of all, like I said, I drew two conclusions for y'all. I mean, when you have two diametrically opposing polar opposites, and one is trying to align with the other, in this case, the pro-swirler or the ex-pro-swirler, which never was a swirl. Let me rephrase that. The pro-black, in this case, the ex-pro-black. If you ask me, never was a pro-black at all. And this is how I'm going to break this down. But when you find the pro-black, and let's just use that term for the sake of making an argument, now switching sides and wanting to align herself with the swirler, this is initially who you were to begin with. All you were looking for was a reason to switch sides. Because according to your girl who swirls with this conversation stated, hey, well, according to what this woman said, when she dated white men never mistreated her. White men never abused her. White men were always kind to her. This is what she revealed to the girl who swirls. Now, some can say, well, maybe she's lying because we didn't hear the conversation. We can say that, yeah, that's a safe assumption. But I'm sorry, I'm automatically gonna assume the worst. I don't have that much faith in people. Because the fact that you got a woman that would feel the need, a pro-black, who would feel the need to say, I'm going to pick up the phone. You know what? After all of these years of making videos, railing in on this female's message, you know what? What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a complete 180 and turn around. And it's this important to me where I have to pick up the phone, get her number now, pick up the phone and call her to apologize and tell her that she was right. I'm sorry. Then I'm left with no other choice but to conclude that the pro-swirler who is revealing this information about you is spot on accurate about what she's saying. That this is what you are. That you dated white men. Like I've told you, brothers, a lot of them find themselves dating white men, have a preference for white men, and maybe she just couldn't snag the white man that she wanted, and now all of a sudden she's a pro-black now. What was it, the black female? A couple of years back that was on Andrew Ramirez Jordan's show? The one that was standing outside of a nightclub in Vegas, claiming that black men weren't trying to dance with her. They were too busy dancing up all on the white women and the non-black women. Then come to find out this bitch got a biracial child, a rape victim who had a biracial child after being raped. Now you go ahead and you figure this shit out, black man. You go ahead and you rape a black woman tomorrow. First off, I guarantee your black ass is going to jail. And if you impregnate her, guess what? She's aborting that seed. That's what's going to happen. We know this. This ain't no goddamn secret. So we see that they have this level of desire for this white man. Despite the fact of being a rape victim, she still decided to go forth and have that child. And then when that was all said and done, figured she was going to take her black ass to a nightclub and, hey, you black guys are just supposed to be showing me attention. And if you see me dancing with white and Asian guys, steal me away. This is what she said. This is why I tell you, I don't trust these women as far as I can throw them. Because this is their original position. Now that they haven't had success with it, now all of a sudden I'm pro-black now. Now all of a sudden I want to wear scarves and wear ankhs and dashikis and kunta kente cloths made in China. Man, get the fuck out my face with that shit. When you sit back here and you wonder why your community looks the way it does, understand this much, black woman. You have been used as a vehicle to furthermore perpetuate to as of why your community looks the way it does. There's just no other way this can be said. You can try to switch bait as much as you want to. You can try to deflect as much as you want to. But the bottom line is, this is what we're dealing with. And it's one thing for a black female to say, you know what, hey, I'm not going to deal with the pro-blacks anymore because they're too over the top for me. I'll find a different route. But when you find that they decide to go ahead and align themselves with an opposing opposite, with a polar opposite, I'm sorry, there's just nothing else I can say about that. That's like you trying to mix two ends of a magnet that don't match. Now, I don't know the exact sequence, so I don't want to say it and sound stupid, but y'all know what I mean. There's two ends of the magnets that go together, and there's two ends that don't. I think it's north and south or whatever. But if you put them the wrong way, guess what? They're going to fight each other. You'll never be able to get them to match. And that's exactly what that is when you take a pro-swirler and a pro-black. They'll never match unless either that pro-swirler or that pro-black never was true to what they stood for to begin with, and it was only a hoax. I was trying to warn you, brothers. Now, what many black women will sit back and say is, well, no, the reason why we're doing this now is because you black men haven't built for us. You haven't provided. You're not protectors. Okay. All right. You black men don't do what other races of men do for their nations and their women. Once again, black woman, you've malnourished this seed. You've put in little to no investment into this seed. And yet somehow you expect a 100% profitable return on an investment in which you never put into. This is what it is. I've told y'all time and time again that in many cases, black women are crippling their boys before they even get a fresh shot out of the door. How are you supposed to compete in a race when you only got 3 tires on your car? How? How does that happen? It's impossible. How do you expect to win when your 2 front tires, in many cases which have front wheel drive, have been shot off clean? How do you expect to get anywhere with that? And what do I mean when I say this? I mean, we all seen this, what was it, about two weeks ago? 2.5 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Well, you had a kid who was at his high school graduation. And the video that went viral of his mother twerking at his graduation. And that video took place, about a week after I made my last video. And I stated something in that video. Because this is when even the swirlers themselves, this is the funny part. This is the crazy part. Because when that video went viral, you didn't hear nothing out of the lights of a Cynthia G. You didn't hear nothing out of the lights of these pro-black women. You heard nothing. Only a few of them did. So let me not go too deep into it, because there was some of y'all that actually did. But the ones who are quick to rail in on black men, you heard them say absolutely nothing. The funny part was, your girl who swirls actually made a video addressing this, calling this out. Your girl who swirls actually did this. And you would figure this would be the last person to call out another black woman. And I told y'all before, what you have in this situation, just like when black women made videos talking about that black principal, who she implemented a dress code for parents, not the children. For the mothers who were showing up to these schools with see-through shirts with their nipples exposed, head wraps on, and curls in their head, just foolishness. Pajama pants on. This is what mothers were doing. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was a picture I think it went viral, where you had a mother who showed up on the first day to her child's school in booty shorts. I mean, this is what we were dealing with. And the one thing I told y'all, just like that video of that black female twerking, I told y'all in many cases that on a day where it's supposed to be about your son or your daughter, your child's moment of celebration, their moment of success, that in many cases, these women will steal the spotlight from them and make it all about themselves. And that's exactly what this female did. First of all, when you see that this is the only female dressed in I don't know what this was, some high yellow spandex suit with her cleavage sticking all out, waiting for her son's name to be called so she can run around gyrating on that damn stage shaking her fat, nasty, smelly ass for the whole goddamn world to see. That right there is an example of what I'm talking about. How they will steal the spotlight at a time when this is based off of the success of your child. And this is the problem that we have with many black women, is they don't know when to take the spotlight off of themselves. They always want to be the center of attention. This is why she shows up at your high school dressed the way she does. This is why you're left stuck to defend her. But the funny thing is, and it's funny that I mentioned Sotomayor early in this video, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe he did an interview with the Sun. He actually had a phone conversation with this Sun. And when you listen to the Sun, first thing you know is that he's gay. You know this. Once again, black woman, this is your doing. Secondly, when you listen to this boy, and he cannot confront the fact that his mother took away an essential moment that was his, that he will never get back again. As a matter of fact, he sat back and defended her. Defended his mother's honor and her right to go out there and not only embarrass her son the way she did, but to make a complete ass out of herself, and furthermore, embarrassing black women as a collective. You see, this is what you rear when you constantly make it about yourself, black woman. This is the result that you end up with. You're not going to tell me somebody like this is capable of building when you can't even call out the fact that your mother is out here making a fool out of her damn self. And one thing I've told you brothers over the years, man, in many cases, you're going to have to come to the conclusion, and it's a harsh reality, many of y'all don't want to see this, and you're going to have to come to that conclusion that your mother fucked you up. It might be something that you don't like. It pains me to say this, but at the end of the damn day, it is what it is. That is the only way you are going to begin to fix these issues amongst your damn self and realize what you need to do as a goddamn man. Is to first of all realize where you were malnourished as a damn child. Because many of your mothers aren't going to tell you that this is exactly how they were. Many of your mothers aren't going to tell you that she has no problem taking the spotlight from you. Don't believe me? Shit. Your girl who swirls actually can attest to this. She mentioned that in her video when she talked about this. So once again, black woman, when you sit up here and you start using these talking points and you say, well, you know what? You black men fail to do what other racist men do for their community. The first thing I'm trying to figure out is why should today's black man do what other racist men do for their communities for you? Why? Why? I mean, let's just be honest. Many of you don't deserve it. There's only a handful of you who are actually worthy of what you're talking about. Many of you don't deserve it. The reason being is because, once again, many of you are crippling your boys before they can even get a fair shot at the gate. Many of you are doing this. So how do you now expect a return on investment that you never put into and expect to get 100% profit back in return? Man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. You must be out your fucking mind. But if you leave it up to her, this is what she's going to say. And if you're going to say, okay, well, you know what? Black men aren't building anything. Okay, I will concede your point. I then come back around and say this. Well, if you had black fathers in a household, you wouldn't have this issue. Then you'll have the likes of a Cynthia G that'll turn around and say, no, even with black fathers in the household, it doesn't make any difference because there's black fathers in the household and y'all still ain't doing nothing. Okay. All right. Okay. And I'll concede that point as well, for the most part. Not all of it. Because in many cases, you do have black fathers in a household who really aren't teaching anything to their kids, who really are of no use to their children. This is just what it is. And as a matter of fact, that's a talking point that I used way before Cynthia G ever came onto YouTube. I was using these talking points back in 2013. But this is what I'll say. When I say black woman, you have been used as a vehicle to furthermore decimate your community. What they'll now turn around and say is, no, that can't be, because women do not build nations, women do not build infrastructure, women do not build communities. That is on the men. Why do you compare yourself to women? Well, first of all, let me make this perfectly clear. I don't compare myself to women. But when I say you have been used as a vehicle, keyword vehicle, to furthermore dismember your community, You'll say, well, how can we do that when we don't have the power to do this? We're not stronger than men. We're not physically more stronger than black men. How can we do this? Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Because now I'm going to throw this talking point at y'all. And it's amazing to me. And I say it's like this. You want to start ending these problems that you have in black society? No more single mothers. That's it. Put an end to that. That needs to completely die down in its entirety. Because if I'm wrong on this, and we're only gauging what we see now, which is the ending result, we're not looking at the entire picture. Because if this was not the problem, then how do we explain shortly after slavery, back in the early 1900s, in the late 1800s, that you had black mothers and black fathers in the household? How is it that you had an abundance of black businesses? Now, I'm not saying it was a utopia, but we had something. How do you explain black men back in the early 1900s being able to build multiple black Wall Streets? How is it that you had more black people who up into the 1960s were more unified, who actually stood for something? How do you have this happen at that time, but now it's a complete 180? How do you explain that? Once again, I'll tell you why. Because black woman, you have allowed yourself to be used as a vehicle to furthermore dismember your community. So when you come back at me and you use the talking point where we're not stronger than men, we don't build nations, we don't build communities, we don't build infrastructure. Well, listen, let me tell you this much right now. You ain't got to be stronger than black men. Now, if we were talking about this over in the continent of Africa, that would be a different argument to be had. That might be a point that I might have no choice but to fall on the sword on and conceive. But considering that we are not in that continent, considering the fact that we understand the history, the semen inside of a man's testicles before it is ejaculated understands the history of how the hell black people got in this damn country. That we were brought here through force. We understand that black men control no narratives here. We understand that black men, by large, own no businesses. We have no collective say-so. And this is also another reason why they use the talking points. Tell me what black men are doing collectively. So we understand where that comes from. And since we understand that black men have never had the power to do this, we understand that there are other groups who have the power to do this. We understand that it is white liberal policies that have busted up the black community. White liberal policies by large, which many of you black women still support to this day. So once again, when y'all sit up here and y'all say, well, we don't have the power to do this. Well, single-handedly, no, you don't. But when you have policies that have always held precedent over your men, have always held reign supreme over your community. See, that's a different talking point. And like I said, when you listen to black women bring up these talking points, they're only going to talk about what they see. They're not going to go into detail of what actually goes on. Because you're not going to tell me that blacks shortly after slavery were able to have multiple black-owned businesses and multiple Wall Streets. And we're talking about in the early 1900s. To now, in 2019, we don't own a single fucking bank. We don't have as much as a goddamn Kool-Aid stand. I mean, are you serious? So you're not going to tell me that it's going to somehow leapfrog over that time frame and just make its way over here, and now it's just that black men as a collective are screwed up. Once again, if you want to know how your men are screwed up, single-parent households. There is no better example. If you want to know how you destroy your community, the fastest way you can destroy your community, put the women in charge and see where that community winds up 10 years down the line. So when you got somebody like an Ali Emmett who makes a YouTube video titled in 2019, Black Women Do What You Want, guess what? That is the exact same fucking problem we've been having. Is that black women have been doing what they wanted. They've been doing it for the past 40 fucking years. And this is another reason why our communities look the way it does. So when y'all sit here and put forth these titles, or do what you want, as if they haven't already been doing this shit, which is why your community is in the condition that it's in once again, which is another reason why your men are crippled from the time that they're young boys, because you're not involving them in activities that teach them how to be goddamn men. And you don't see nothing wrong with this. A prominent example of this, once again, is Cynthia G. And I will highlight and reference that talking point every chance I get. Because you're not going to present a woman who is a seasoned veteran, who has made endless videos going in on black men, talking about the weakness of black men, that black men are failing when it comes down to meeting the expectations and standards of other men in other communities, but yet at the same time, as a seasoned veteran and who knows this and who regurgitates these talking points, will find herself in a situation where she is becoming impregnated by a man with 5 fucking children from 4 different women. I mean, go make sense of this shit. And then when you ask her this, when you ask her, hold on a second, how did you end up in this situation? Do you not see this as a part of the problem? We'll sit back and not only defend this man, but furthermore defend her actions. And when you ask her, okay, well, are you in a relationship with him? Do you plan to rear this child together with him? Well, no, we're not together. And I don't believe in that. When you listen to that talking point, that right there in itself is all you need to know to understand why the black community looks the way it does. Because when you have the women running around engaging in this foolishness, and yet, after making fucked up decisions, or after thinking it's not important to have a father figure in the household working with you to rearing that child as a family unit, then guess what? You don't have the right to complain about what black men aren't building for you. You're not worthy of it. You don't deserve it. And this is why you find yourselves in the situations that you're in right now. Oh, well, even if there were black fathers in the household, you black men still swirl at a rate 3 times to 1 to black women. Okay. Well, listen. I'm not saying you ain't going to have those who are going to decide to go ahead and date interracially. But the fact of the matter is, when you have more black fathers in the household, these problems will be far less likely. That's just the way that works. Because when you have structure in your life, from the time when you're a child, and this is when you're supposed to implement these things, structure. It is no different than if you're building a building. You need a proper foundation for that building. If you just slap a building over some dirt, guess what? It's going to have a lopsided foundation. It's going to lean. It's going to sag. You're going to have all sorts of problems with it. You go inside of the apartments, the floors are all warped. The door frames all bent out of shape. This is what you're going to find. Doors don't close properly. You got to replace shit every so often. This is what's going to happen if you don't put together a proper foundation and you slap a big ass building over some damn dirt. You can't do that. This is why you got to take the time to level the ground, make it nice and flat, pour that concrete pavement, reinforce it with rebar. This is the stuff you have to do. This is called building a foundation. And once your foundation is set, now you start with the frame. Once your frame is set, then you start putting the floors together. Then you start setting up your plumbing and your electrical. This is how you build a foundation. And when you have something with this level of structure, guess what? That building can last well over 100 years. If you have a good foundation. You have a poor foundation, you'll most likely be demoing that building before 25 years. Because you never had a proper foundation. So once again, when you have black women sitting around here wondering about black men, you ain't building for us, you black men are failures. When they're sitting up here using these talking points, you need to understand certain things. I mean, number one, just take a look at what black women are doing online right now. You know, over the years, and this is back in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, I would witness black men getting on these live streams, going at it with each other. Black men who would give each other phone numbers to one another, despite the fact that they did not like each other. They're giving out their personal numbers to one another. I couldn't figure this out. And you would see them on these live streams going back and forth with each other, cursing each other out, having roasting sessions. I mean, this is what they were doing. And when they were doing this, I would sit back and I would say, you know what? I get how this comes about. Because this is what was demonstrated in front of you by your single mothers. And this is why you don't see nothing wrong with this. Likewise, when you look at it, fast forward 5 years later, you got black women doing the exact same thing. And the funny thing is, black women were sitting back at that time, oh, look at all these black men. They're going at each other. They spend more time arguing with each other. This is what they were saying. And once again, I'll have to concede that point. But now you fast forward it 5 years later, and now you have black women sitting around going at it with each other. holding live streams and doxing one another, exposing one another. The same groups of women that talk about I'm here for black women and girls. What was it? Black woman's fear. Nyla says. I mean, I sat back and I listened to a damn live stream. The funny thing is, David Carroll sends me a link over the weekend. He sent it to me on sometime, I think it was mid-Sunday. And I looked at the link and come to find out this is the live stream it was a live stream that I actually had looked at the day before. One by Nyla Says, Black Woman's Fear, and a host of other black females that were on this panel. Going at it with each other. Oh, you doxed me, you exposed me, you got fake accounts, you're trolling us. This is what was going on. This is what it was. This was was it 2 or 4 hours? I think it was a 4-hour long fucking live stream. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck? I fell asleep throughout half of this motherfucker. The only times I actually woke up while listening to this is when they started going back and forth with each other. But now, once again, I want you to notice how the tables have turned. And this is from the same groups of women who talk about how they want to help black women and girls. And yet, when you listen to the black woman's videos now, this is the same one who talks about how she's here for the empowerment of black women, calling black women dusty bitches. This is what she was doing in the video just last week. So once again, how much do y'all really care about black women when y'all are the same ones exposing black women? Dropping docs on one another. I mean, I hear a lot of y'all having these back and forths with a YouTuber by the name of Sansaray Smith. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out, first of all, why the fuck are y'all even engaging that female? I mean, and this is the thing, I've seen too many black men over the years engaging this irrelevant female. I can't understand for the life of me why, just looking at the choices that she has made, there is no reason for me to sit down and making a video going at it with. I refuse to fucking do it. Likewise, when it comes down to the live streams, and I also told this to David Carroll, and the both of us concede this point, we're not doing no fucking live streams. That's just never gonna happen. The same way you Negroes will never find me in the chat box of these live streams. You will never find me calling in, trying to get on the panel with these live. I'm not doing it. I absolutely refuse to. Because I'll be damned if I'm going to waste my time sitting around arguing with a bunch of damn people that I don't even know. It's completely fucking baffling to me. And furthermore, what lets you know this is you're dealing with women who, many of y'all have husbands at home. Many of y'all have families, have children. I mean, how many hours in a fucking day do you have? When you look at Nyla Says having multiple 8-hour-long live streams per week. And the funny thing is, when you listen to the bullshit, y'all like to mask y'all bullshit with this B1 nonsense. And what does B1 stand for? Black first. Because y'all are all about pro-blackness. But yet when you go on these damn live streams, you Negroes spend more time cooking and roasting one another. What the fuck do you mean B1? You Negroes are a fucking cliche. And this is another reason why. If I hear a terminology being used far too often, I back away from it. Because I know if you Negroes get your hands on it, you're going to water it down, and before you know it becomes a fucking joke. This is another reason why I don't even use logic and common sense like I used to at the outro of my videos. I don't do it no more. Because I know too many of y'all have watered down that fucking meaning. So I just put it in the goddamn channel title, and that's it. The brother of logic and common sense. But to sit here and use it the way I did, no. Because like I told y'all before, far too often, you Negroes will turn something into a complete fucking cliche. And like I said, we got black women who are mothers, who are wives, who are sitting around on multiple live streams, arguing, yelling. And like I said, I start watching these live streams, I'll fall asleep. The only thing that wakes me up out of these damn live streams is when I start hearing the yelling and screaming. And I wake up like, what the fuck is going on? Because I hear this shit in my damn sleep. Like, what the fuck? And it's these females going at it with each other. Calling each other murderers. I mean, just all kinds of foolishness. This is what you got going on. I mean, boy. But yet at the same time, y'all are pro-black. Yeah, B1 first, right? ADOS, black fist in the air. I mean, get the fuck out of here. You niggas are full of goddamn shit, man. This is why I don't fuck with many of y'all. I sit back and I listen to this and I'm literally embarrassed that this is what black people are doing in 2019. And like I said, It started off with black men doing it, and still in many cases, you Negroes do this shit to this day. Will find yourselves in these comment threads arguing with these fucking women, and I don't understand for the life of me why the hell y'all do that. It's just, it's a practice I've never engaged in. But yet, this is what y'all do day in and day out. But once again, this is not really about the black men. This is about black women and their hypocrisy. And I have tried to warn you black men. Those of y'all who really are about pro-blackness, those of you who actually live it, those of you who are not hypocrites to it, I've warned y'all time and time again. You need to be extremely cautious of these self-proclaimed wannabe pro-black women. Do not go off of what she tells you. You can gauge her a little somewhat off of her actions, but you really need to check that resume. Now, there are certain areas where you can say certain things can be looked past. Let's just say she happened to date a white guy, or she dated 2 white guys, but it was a 2 ratio white guy to a 4 ratio of black guys. And she realized, you know what, I want to be with my own. Okay, we can look past that. If you've had a preference for white men over blacks, then no, that's not something that I can look past, because I don't think a preference just up and changes just like that. If this is what you like, then this is what you like. If you have dated a white guy here and there, but you've been in long-term relationships with black men, you've been married to a black man or have a family by a black man, that's a little different. But if you've been in long-term relationships with white men, have been married to white men, that's the cake right there in itself, is the marriage. Have biracial children with white men, then that right there, I'm sorry, that disqualifies you from pro-blackness. You can never be classified as a pro-black, especially the moment you have biracial children. The minute you get married to one, that right there automatically disqualifies you. But biracial children, completely out the damn picture. We can't even discuss this. And this is the funny thing when I listen to a lot of these black women, just like the one I was referencing earlier, this Ali Emmett, supposedly is married to a black man and has children. I'm going to say children, because it would not surprise me if these children were biracial. Because you can sometimes hear them in the background of her videos. This is when she actually had her channel uploaded or was uploading videos. But once again, like I told y'all, since you don't know what you're dealing with, and since we now know this is a swirler. How do we know this? Because Crystal and Carrison confirmed this, pretty much aired her black ass out. And I'm just trying to figure out, what did you think you were going to gain out of that by contacting Crystal and Carrison? Did you think you were going to gain a friend, that the 2 of y'all were going to become best friends and buddies? We're going to sit down and do live streams together and chop it up. What would you think was going to happen? Which is also another reason why she set her account to either private or completely deleted it. Because in many cases, when that swirling bullshit doesn't work, they're going to want to come right back to the other side of the fence. This is what they're doing. They're straddling both sides of the fence. And when one side or when one option doesn't work, they want to have clear availability to the next one. And this is another reason why I have warned you, brothers. I have tried to tell y'all this for years, and I will continue to push this message. Be very, very cautious of these hypocritical, phony-ass, self-proclaimed pro-black women. Do not gauge them off of what they say. You can gauge them somewhat off of their actions, but you need to take a look at that resume. And what do I mean when I say that resume? It's just like when you look at somebody's job resume. I want to see what you've done in the past. What line of work have you done? And in certain cases, if that job is considering hiring you, they're going to do a background check and they're going to contact these people to find out that you are who you say you are. That you actually work in these jobs that you have placed down on this resume. And I'm not advising black men to do this, but in certain cases, it might be a considerable option. I need to contact some of these motherfuckers on this resume to know that this is who you were with. That you really are fucking pro-black. So once again, black woman, when you can see how easily an opposing extreme, a polar opposite, can completely flip like a fish out of water, that right there shows that you have no integrity. That right there shows that you have no structure. Because if you had any integrity and any structure, and even if you decided, you know what, I'm not going to make any more videos, talking about this woman, I'm just going to leave it alone because I see that black men are hypocrites, that's fine. But, however, it doesn't mean I'm going to side up with this very same woman because I don't support that message either. But when black men and black boys are being reared by women who actually display that they have no integrity, you can't expect to get back more than what you put out. And this is the problem, like I stated, with many black women. Black women have put in no investment, but expect to get 100% profitable return on an investment in which you never put out in the first place. And with that being said, that's all I got to say in this video. And I'll catch you on the flip side.